Welcome. Today is day 26, and today I'm talking about staying focused. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, there was a whole world of things that I could do or be. And I think I was a relatively talented individual. I mean, I was no good at sports, so at least I removed that whole area of my life or possibility. But in terms of intellectual pursuits or business ideas, I was relatively interested in a lot of things. So I really struggled. It was only because I was growing up when the internet really started to develop, and that was right when I hit my 20s, when it was time for me to really pick a career. So I got lucky that there was this giant movement going on. And so at least my career got picked for me, because if I didn't have a career path kind of decided for me, I don't know, I'd probably still be trying to figure out what I want to do for a living. But I'm not talking about that necessarily, as I'm talking about self-improvement or even organizational improvement. So if you want to improve yourself or improve an organization, the first thing you have to do is figure out what path you're going to be on. What mountain are you going to climb? Now, once you've figured out the mountain that you're going to climb, then you have to get on the path. So I would say that that's probably the first half of the battle. Then the second half of the battle is not necessarily the difficulty of the climb, but rather just simply staying on the path. I think most failure occurs not because people have difficulty on the path they are on, but the fact that they get distracted from the path they are on, and they end up going down other paths, diverse paths, or looking at other mountains to climb. Here's a phenomenon that's true in backpacking as well as in life. When you go backpacking, you see this beautiful mountain that you want to climb, and it looks amazing. And you start setting your foot down the path, one foot after another, to try to climb that mountain. But as you get closer to the mountain, as you get on the mountain, things change. Your view is no longer miles away, but your view is now right in front of you. And nothing looks very attractive when you're working on it right then and there. As soon as it becomes hard work, it's no longer attractive. While you're now standing on one mountain, the other mountains around you will look more attractive. And this is the problem that we have in setting our goals. A lot of times we set what we think is an inspired goal, only to find out that as soon as we start working on it, we find other goals that look more attractive. And that leads us to constantly switching. In my opinion, you cannot be really sure if a goal is a right goal to pick if you haven't spent at least a year of dedicated effort. In fact, I usually say that to myself. When I set up a new thing I want to do, like I come up with an idea, like I wanted to go do this great thing, I ask myself, is this something that I'm willing to dedicate myself to relentlessly for a full year? Because if you're not willing to do that, then you might as well forget it. Because 3 months, 4 months, 5 months of work is not going to do it. You have to put in at least a full year for an adequate test, and sometimes longer. I mean, there's musical instruments you're never going to figure out in less than a year, and languages you'll never learn in less than a year. But even if you were to look at a musical instrument or a language, I mean, I've tried to learn several musical instruments, and I'm not very good at it. But I've never spent a full year at it either. I've spent like a month or two and then given up. If you put dedicated time into learning something for a year, then you will know. You will know if this is something you want to do, and more importantly, you will see progress. Like if you practice the piano under the tutelage of a good piano instructor every day for a full year, by the time you were done, you would not be a good piano player by any stretch, but you would know how to play, and you would be adequate enough to play and probably read sheet music. So you would then know if this is a lifelong pursuit of yours. So next time you set out a goal, ask yourself, is this something I'm willing to dedicate a full year to? Now, once you've picked the goal, there are so many distractions, hardships, difficulties that come up that always want to pull you off the path. So I wrote up today for my blog about 15 things, and I won't go through them all today. If you want to look at the blog and get the 15 things I came up with, you can read the blog. But I'll just go over a few. First off, you can't achieve a goal that you can't write down. So I've had so many goals in my life that have just been kind of these nebulous ideas, but I haven't really articulated them. If you can't articulate your goal very clearly and specifically, then you're never going to achieve it. You have to be able to write down your goal. And believe me, writing down the goal in a very clear, concise sentence is not an easy exercise, because that really requires you to commit to what it is. If you keep a nebulous goal, like I want to look better, I want to look great naked, that's my nebulous goal. That's just kind of fluff. It's a fun aspirational thought, but what you really need to do is sit down and make it as clear and specific as possible. That way you can't get out of it. This is the goal. This is my yearly commitment. This is what I'm going to do. So that's important. And then secondly, when you're on a mountain and you're backpacking, if you keep looking at the end destination, you'll eventually get discouraged because it'll just seem to get farther and farther away. The closer you get to the mountain, the harder it's going to look. So consequently, I like to break down smaller goals, like when I'm hiking. I pick some tree up in the distance. If I could just get to that tree. And I do that running too. Like when I'm trying to go for a new distance record or a new time goal, I say, okay, I'm going to keep up this pace until I hit that fire hydrant. And when I get there, I'm like, yes. And then I look, and then I might give myself a little bit of a break, and then I pick the next target. So breaking down your goal into something that's actually more achievable, or for example, if you have a year-long goal to do something, you could break it into 4 chunks. And those 4 chunks would be each 3-month period of the year. That way you have targets you can hit a little sooner and feel better about what you're doing. Something that's really helped me, because I always, you write everything down digitally. That's what I do. I store everything in my, Notion or whatever. I store it all in there and I keep track of it. But the problem is when it's digital, you don't really look at it. It doesn't have that tangible feel. So I would highly recommend writing this goal down in some form, in a note card or something that you put on the wall, or a visual picture. I'm not really big into the vision boards, but they do serve a purpose to remind you of what your goals are. That's really important. I think also it's really important to manage distractions. If there's something that's offending you, cut it out. I think Jesus said that. So if you're trying to achieve a focused goal, and there's something that keeps pulling you away from doing what you're supposed to be doing, then get rid of it. Cut it out of your life. It's causing you to get away from your goal. You should be so focused on getting your goal, you are willing to remove the things from your life that are distracting you. There's a lot of other things that you can talk about. You can track your progress. I think it's also important to stay accountable. Let people know what you're doing so that they can hold you accountable. I mean, one of my reasons for doing these videos every day and writing my blog every day is not because I expect to grow an audience. I could care less, really. But what I'm hoping to do is hold myself accountable. It's like if I don't post this, then there might be that one person that's disappointed in me. So this is a great way for me personally to stay focused. I guess it's my pride or my ego or whatever. So I'm using that as a tool to keep myself honed in. I think also seeking support from friends, identifying role models. One thing I do is every Wednesday, because I go to the gym on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and I have Wednesday as a break. So because I have that extra time on Wednesday, what I'm doing now is I do this meditation exercise where I visualize in my mind what my success is going to look like in a year. So if I keep this up, what will success look like for me in 1 year from now? And I visualize that. I visualize what I'll be wearing, what I'll look like. I just go through the whole thing in my mind. And that really helps me remember the passion that I had when I set my goals. So anyway, there are lots of things you can do, lots of tools to help you stay on the path. I would recommend implementing as many as you can, because honestly, there's a lot fighting against you. So you need as much as you can to arm yourself with to keep your goals. So that's what I recommend. Thank you.